Margarita, so you've officially completed the one-year design and garment construction program. We're so proud and we're really happy to have gotten to know you throughout the course of this entire year. It's been our absolute pleasure. And we just want to thank you for sharing your experience with other students who might very well be like you. So thanks again for taking this time to chat with me, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, okay, all right. So let's talk about the beginning. So when you first started the program, in your own words, what was your life or situation like when you decided to join Le Fashion Lab? What was going on?
Okay, so what happens and what I decided to enter to the Fashion Lab was that I had a big change in my life in that moment. I have to go to the United States and live there. My husband was transferred to work there, so I'm an environmental engineer, but I didn't want to continue with that career. So 2 or 3 years ago, I decided that I want to change my life and to start working in fashion design. So I think that with the opportunity that life was giving me, I said, okay, I'm going to change now. I have the time. I will have the time to change. So I started searching fashion schools in Atlanta, and I found you. So I didn't want to spend like another 5 years studying in a fashion degree, in a bachelor. So when I found what the Fashion Lab was offering me, I said, okay, that's what I want. I want to learn because it's not the basic. Like you really are going through a whole bachelor degree. Like you are doing like a complete bachelor. So, but you are doing it in 1 year. So that's why motivates me to do the course in the Fashion Lab.
Got it. You mentioned that you have a background in environmental engineering, but you wanted to shake things up and change your career. Tell me a little bit more about why you wanted to do that.
Okay, so I study environmental engineer for 5 years, and I really love sustainability. But my other passion was fashion design, like fashion and dresses and all of that. So 2 and 3 years ago, maybe I went to Paris and I had the chance to see a Christian Dior exhibition, and I don't know why, but like in that moment, I told myself like, okay, that is what I want. Like I want to work in fashion design or fashion industry, but I didn't know how to combine the career that I had like with this new topic. So I started like a little research about the fashion industry, and I found that fashion industry is the second most contaminating in the world. So after knowing that, I said, okay, I want to focus in this. I want to work in sustainability, but in the fashion industry. Um, but if I want to enter to the fashion industry, I really want to know like the basics, because you cannot go inside an industry without knowing anything. Like you have to know um, the basic, like the procedures or something for you to like to do some innovations on it. So that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to start like for the beginning. I want to start knowing pattern making, draping, sewing. That is like the most important part of the fashion industry. So that's what I choose to do. What I did, like to start from the beginning, so I can know more the industry.
Got it. Okay. So before you started the program, and remember to include this question in your answer, um, what fears or frustrations did you have?
Okay, so my biggest fear and my biggest frustration was that, well, my biggest fear is that I never consider myself as a creative person. Never. Well, I'm an engineer, so I was always like considering myself like really numerical. But so that was like my big fear, like my biggest fear. Like I will not be able to do this because I never consider myself as a creative person. Um, my frustration basically was that I didn't want to do like a 5 years career. I want I I wanted to do my master's in fashion, but I didn't have the background. So I said like, okay, if you are going to do a master's, you have to know like something about fashion industry. But I didn't want to do 5 years, so or 4 years. So when I found you and what the Fashion Lab offers, I said, that's it. Like that is what I really want. Like 1 year, one intensive year that I can dedicate myself to know fashion industry, like to know the fashion, the development of collections, and to know how is the creative process going, and then I can do my master. So that's what I was thinking. And yeah, my biggest fear was that I remember I was so afraid to start this process because I didn't know how to draw, I didn't know how to do illustrations. I only knew how to sew a little things, but not too much. Um, so yeah, that was like my biggest fear.
Got it, got it. Okay. Would you say that over time your fears diminished? Did you start to have more confidence that maybe you could actually do it?
Yeah, I was really afraid about pattern making because I thought it was going to be really difficult. But at the end, and I think that thanks to my engineering degree, I had the like maybe like the basics to start pattern making. I mean, it's difficult, but after you practice and after you know like a little about the process and how it should look, it's easy for you to do the pattern. Um, mm, I was a little afraid about the illustration part because I never draw. Um, but I think that after all the classes and all the help that Rushika and all the tools that Rushika gave me, um, I did like something really good. I was really um, proud of what I achieved. So yeah, after practicing and after knowing what I was in front of, I think that all my fears disappear. Of course, it's a little um, and I think that the sewing part's a little frustrating sometimes because I mean you have to do a lot of practice to get like into really good. But I think it's part of the process. Like all the process are going to be sometimes frustrating, but at the end, what I did and the result that I that I had, it was so good. It was so good. I was so happy about it.
Good. Okay. All right. So, when you first came to the Fashion Lab, what were your dreams and desires?
Okay, so my biggest dream is well my biggest dream and desire was I wanted to do my master's in fashion. I want to do it at the SCAD. So I was working towards that, but after that, like having all the tools for example, I love dresses. So for me, having all the tools to create my own clothes, like I know that the dress that I made and like the red dress that I made, nobody else is going to have that dress. And I made it, and I made it in 1 day. So for me, like that's a dream come true. Like I can make my own clothes, and I know that it's going to be an original me because nobody else is going to have it. So that was one of my dreams. I wanted to do my clothes so bad, and creating that and knowing that I have the capacity to do that is it was really good.
Good. Okay. All right. So, what obstacles did you have to overcome? Like while you were going through the program, what were some of the obstacles you had to overcome?
Okay, so my biggest obstacle was with the illustration. the illustration part, I never draw, and I didn't consider myself as I can do illustration. So for me, creating the illustration was the hardest part of all the process. Like not even part making or draping, it was illustration. But after like you have to do shades and all that, I think that it's really you have to practice, of course, but after all the tools that the teacher gave you, um, I think that I can do illustration. Of course, I have to practice to be really good, but I think that I have the basics to continue with illustration.
Good. Okay. All right. So I'm sure you spent a lot of time researching your options when you were moving to America, wanting to study fashion design. Why did you choose Le Fashion Lab?
Okay, I choose the Fashion Lab because it was the only one that was really complete. Like the Fashion Lab offers a whole degree in 1 year, in one intensive year, but like you have all the basics to do fashion design. You have the pattern making, you have the draping, you have the sewing, you have business classes that is really important if you're going to build your own businesses. So I think that it was the most complete option that I had. Um, because it's got, if you're into got one, is going to be really expensive, and two, it's going to be really long. And I didn't have like I didn't want to spend another 5 years doing a degree. I already have one. So this one, yeah, it offers me like a complete thing, and it was in 1 year. So that's what I choose the Fashion Lab.
Got it. Okay. And previously you mentioned that before starting Le Fashion Lab, you took a sewing class. Why did you still feel like you needed more?
I think that with sewing, you have to practice, practice, practice to become really, really good. Because it has like little details. And with I had like 1 year of sewing, but with 1 year you don't learn a lot. I only had at Saturdays because I was working back then. Um, so I didn't have like the expertise, or I didn't know how to really, really sew. So I mean, it's like a basic, but like I I remember I told my husband like with the classes I never did a dress like I did in the Fashion Lab. Like I'm not even imagine the dress. So I have the sewing, but it was like not enough.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. It was like the basics, but you really didn't get into
Mm-hmm.
making detailed garments. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, based on your opinion, would you say that with the right amount of effort, someone who has never sewn before can still succeed at Le Fashion Lab?
Yeah, of course. You have to really work. Like sewing is not the only part of fashion design, and it's really good because the Fashion Lab starts with basic sewing. So if you don't know how to sew, you are going to learn from the basics. Um, Again, I didn't have the expertise. I didn't want that good. I remember that 1 year ago I was trying to make a Christmas dress, and I of course failed because I didn't have like I have the basics of sewing, but I didn't have like all these detail and all of that. Um, so like seeing that progress, like 1 year ago I didn't make my Christmas dress, and this year at one like 8 hours after I made a dress. So you can do it. Like if you don't have the sewing basics, you can do it.
Okay, good. All right. So now we're going to talk more about like the middle, like when you were actually in the program. So how has your perspective, your knowledge, your skills changed as you went through the program? How have those things changed?
Um, my skills and my knowledge, I think that they change a lot. I I really improved because I didn't know anything before, only sewing. Um, and what I tell you, like I could make five. I made five pieces of clothes in 1 month.
5 outfits.
Like I never in my life was going to imagine that I can do that. So having that knowledge, because I mean, I have to make the pattern from the beginning or do the draping from the beginning and then develop all the clothes and sewing all the clothes. Like that's how you choose that the skills that you learn, um, like you success in the skills, like you have the knowledge to do a mini collection that is only 5 pieces, but like you made it in 1 month and you made it good. So yeah, from 1 year until now, I think that my knowledge and my skills have improved a lot.
Got it. Okay. All right. And what would you say was different than you expected? When,
um was different, I think. Well, but that's like more my personal opinion, is because I that was the only activity that I was doing outside my home. So I was hoping to have like more friends or to have more people. And then when I saw myself alone, it was a really tough thing. But I think that besides that, I never thought it was going to be that hard. But I think that like all the hard work shows when you finish your collection. So um yeah, I think it was really hard, but I think it's like you have to do the hard work if you want to be good at it.
got it. Got it. Okay. So one of the things that you mentioned was that you started out in a program with maybe 5 people, and then at the end you
Mm-hmm.
ended up kind of by yourself. And
Yeah,
coming
yes.
from Colombia, you were hoping for more of that interaction with your classmates, but you never really
Mm-hmm.
got it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. What was a great benefit that you didn't expect?
Um, a great benefit, I think that living experience that I never lived before. Like for example, thanks to the fashion lab, I was able to be a model. Like that little experience that here in my back home I never experienced it, and now I'm having like a new whole yeah, a new whole life. I'm doing my dresses and I'm modeling, and I'm meeting people like you, for example, that with that you can invite me to the fashion international committee, maybe.
The
Yes.
Fashion Group International. Yes.
Yeah, so those little things that I never expect, I maybe expect friends, but I think that what Marva and Rushika and you gave me, I think is really, really important if you want to build like a networking. And I think that yeah, I think that I was living like a whole new experiences that I never thought it was going to be possible through like because I was studying. But knowing that it was really good.
Good. Okay. All right. How much time would you say you spent practicing per week?
Um, maybe like 4 hours per day when
Okay.
I was not at at class. Maybe 4 hours. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And what was the most exciting thing that you learned or accomplished?
My mini collection.
Okay.
Like my final project. Like all that process was really beautiful because at the beginning you had your idea and then you start to illustrate, but when you illustrate like for example, what happened to me is that I illustrate and I said, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Like how I'm going to sew it, to do all the sewing of this. And then I saw it and it was like, oh my God, like I really can do this. Like it was a really beautiful process. So yeah, that was like my biggest accomplishment.
Got it. Okay. So what was your favorite subject? I know that you kind of told me before, but let's talk about it again. What was your favorite subject?
Okay, my favorite subject was draping. I really love draping. For me, it was the easiest one because like I can imagine what I want, and I then do it in the mannequin. So for me, that was like my really favorite subject.
Got it. Okay. All right. So let's move a little bit closer to the end of the program now. Some of these questions I think you've already somewhat answered, but I'll ask you again anyway. So, what have you achieved at this point, and what are you most proud of?
Okay, so I'm most proud of myself because I never imagined that I can do that with my hands. And and again, I never consider myself as a creative person. And then I made like 5 pieces of clothes. Like I imagine it and then I do it, like I create them. So for me, I was really proud of myself to see that what I dream I can achieve. And so yeah, that I was really, really proud of what at the end I did.
Got it. Okay. All right. And specifically, which goals for yourself did you accomplish?
What things? Sorry again.
Sure, I'll repeat it. I'm sure you had some goals at the beginning of the program. What goals did you set for yourself that you ultimately accomplished?
um. Well, at the beginning, like my biggest goal was to enter to the master.
Mhm.
Um. And but I mean, in the meantime, like when I was doing the study, I think that all the goals that I put myself into, I achieve it. Um, for example, creating the mini collection, doing the illustrations, um, sewing, like all of that. I I accomplished it. So I didn't have like a big goal at the beginning with the study. Like my big goal was to go into the master,
Mhm.
but after I was doing the things like creating jackets or creating blazers, like each step, it was like a little goal for me, and ending in 5 illustration and 5 pieces of clothes, and then I saw it. That was like the biggest accomplishment and the biggest goal. Like, and when you told me that the final project was going to do that was going to be to do a mini collection, and then at the end I saw that I made that. Yeah, that was like my biggest accomplishment.
Got it. Okay. All right. So before starting the program, you mentioned that you had little to no skills in the following areas. Would you say that you now feel competent or confident in the following areas? I'll tell you, and then you tell me if you feel. So, fine sewing and how to finish garments professionally.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
of course.
How to make patterns,
Yes,
fashion sketching and illustration,
yes,
putting together a fashion portfolio,
yes,
how to come up with a design concept and bring it to life with your garment
yeah.
construction skills. Okay.
Hmm.
So overall, Margarita, are you happy with what you gained at Le Fashion Lab?
Yeah, I'm really, really, really happy. Like I'm really, really happy and proud of myself of what I did and for the relationships that I made with you and Marv and Rishika. that is also really important, and I think that it was a really, really beautiful experience. It was tough, of course, sometimes was so frustrated, but at the end, when you see the result, you feel proud of yourself. And of course, it's going to be hard work. It's going to be a lot of responsibility. But if you really, really want to do it, you can accomplish. So that's like, yeah, that's like my advice.
Got it. Okay. All right. So I was just going to ask you what would you say to prospects, but I think you just gave us a nice little conclusion right there.
Yeah.
One last question for you. Who would you say is the ideal Le Fashion Lab candidate? What kind of traits or characteristics do you think this person should have to succeed?
Okay, so I think, okay, so to succeed in the fashion lab, I think you have to be really responsible. You have to be passionate about what you are doing, because sometimes you get frustrated, but you have to like to know what you are doing and why you are doing it. Um, so yeah, you have to be passionate, you have to be responsible, because you have to do a lot of your own work at home, and if you don't practice, you're not going to succeed. So you I think that those two are really important, like
Got
to
it.
be responsible and to be passionate, because sometimes it's going to be frustrated, but you have to work if you want to accomplish something really beautiful.
Got it. Okay. Margarita, thank you for your time. We have absolutely loved getting to know you this past year. We're very proud of you. We saw you working hard the entire time, even when your other classmates couldn't keep up. You stuck to it because you knew what you wanted to accomplish for yourself. Now we're looking at you about to start your master's degree at SCAD, and we're 100% sure that the future has these great and amazing opportunities in store for you because you put the work forward. We have just adored having you, and we look forward to keeping in touch as time goes by. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you
Nicola. It
so much.
was really good.
Yeah, we're so proud of you. And when you get back to America, happy to see you again. Okay.